Hi, my name is Colin Francois, and today I will be giving a speech on the connection between the United States' war on drugs in the past and current social issues such as Black Lives Matter. While the more known effects of the drug war are various laws and the occasional Red Ribbon Week, what was started in the 1970s has had a profound effect on both the government and citizens of the United States of America, predominantly among minorities within the population and lower income communities. The decriminalization of drug use has begun in some states, such as Oregon, but the road to fix this problem is a long and seemingly undefeatable one. From the beginning, with Contras in South America, to the Reagan and Dare ages of anti-drug messaging, key events such as the death of George Floyd and the trial of Derek Chauvin have been tremendous modern events which have served to further Americans' desire to make reform within our justice system. We can look inward on our country's history to analyze patterns and various causes and effects which have led to the state of drug-affected peoples and communities in the United States of America, stemming back to conflicts decades ago. The beginning of this issue started in the 1970s in South America with Contra groups in South America and predominantly Nicaragua. These were CIA-backed and funded groups that were utilized by the United States government, and the desire of the United States government was to use them to fight against Marxist or socialist revolutions within South America, similar to America's actions in Vietnam, to prevent the spread of communism into any countries near or within America itself. These groups then began to use the funds provided by the CIA and other resources to smuggle drugs into America, often through Mexico, this giving them wealth and resources, and this therefore starting the drug war as we began having to fight against this smuggling and drug trafficking. However, drugs have found a way into America en masse and could not be stopped, thus beginning the drug war, which would be fought on the American home front, also in Mexico. At first, Mexican gangs acted as transportation services along with cartels, but in the late 1980s, Mexican transportation organizations and Colombian drug traffickers settled on a payment-in-product agreement. Due to its location, Mexico has long been used as a transportation point for narcotics and contraband between Latin America and the United States of America. Mexico is a major drug-producing and transit country. While the Mexican government has asserted that their primary goal is to dismantle powerful drug cartels and eliminate the drug trade within its own country, drug trafficking continues, particularly due to the supply and demand within America, as America is their primary selling target. Recent examples of cartels killing political candidates within Mexico based off things such as social media information show that despite the government's best efforts, the cartels still hold a powerful amount of influence within Mexico. Drugs often run rampant most in poor communities. While of course all sects of society buy and sell drugs, communities of lower economic status are most negatively affected by the drug trade. From organized crime to the effects of drugs on the youth, coupled with almost no governmental aid in said communities, it creates a situation where people are dependent on the economics of the drug trade and drugs themselves, leaving new generations to grow up in a situation where the drug trade hits the hardest, often leaving people inept, mentally inept, and homeless in cities such as Los Angeles, New York, and Detroit, where prime examples of drugs affecting hundreds of thousands of Americans. The Chauvin trial, unfortunately, as of recently, has had little effect on change. While who was responsible and what caused the decision of those people on May 25, 2020, police shootings continue along with protests of those events. Many Americans now see the long-standing issues within the justice system, which allows for these events to continue despite public outrage. Whether it be protests in a response to a Rodney King, George Floyd, or Daunte Wright, reform in any form of legislation to end these events seem like a long uphill struggle. While the place of police is a difficult one for the government to look at, as over 700,000 Americans are governmental law enforcement employees, it is important for the government to be able to look inward at some point and look at reforming such a large branch of governmental employees. As stated earlier, the American demand for drugs is what continually supports the trade, as although some states legalize drugs such as marijuana, the desire for other drugs and marijuana and other substances continues, therefore creating the demand for the drug trade while the supply continually comes in. In closing, the effects decades of disenfranchisement and exploitation, along with an influx of drugs, have had on African Americans and economically downtrodden communities in the United States have contributed to events therefore spanning decades from Rodney King to George Floyd and Daunte Wright being prime examples of discrimination based on preconceived notions of respective communities as a result of drugs negatively affecting said communities and peoples for decades. While politics and change are always difficult to attain, those hardships are exacerbated even more by the gridlock of the American justice system, as movements will naturally lose impact and influence over time if no progression is made towards their goal or is seen. However, we must remember there is a light at the end of the tunnel. If we can push forth as a country to challenge drug importation and uplift communities stuck within generational poverty, we can work to not just prevent already preventable deaths, but to restore and build up the lives and living conditions of millions of Americans. Thank you.